Welcome to OM Report by Andre Alpa, your interview-focused podcast on topics from online marketing to internet startups.
Today's OM Report is with Rhea. Rhea, can you please introduce yourself? Did I say the name right or
yep,
Rhea?
Exactly, it's Rhea.
Okay, perfect.
My name is Rhea Drysdale. I'm the CEO at Outspoken Media, and we do all organic-based search marketing, so link building, a little bit of social, reputation management. I think personally I've done a lot of reputation work, so people in the industry know me for that. But as a business, what we do more than anything is link building,
right.
SEO audits, that type of thing.
Right. So how big is Outspoken Media, if I may ask?
Yeah, we're small.
Because I don't know yet.
So there's 8 of us.
It's a boutique then.
Yeah, definitely. We always say we're boutique. We try to be small. We're not looking to necessarily scale and have all these departments with silos. We're really trying to be very comprehensive in what we do and make sure that each individual team member is trained on all areas and they can handle everything for the client internally and in-house.
Okay, so basically there's like a, let's say like a key contact person within Outspoken that takes care of all the necessities.
Everything for that client. Yep.
Okay, so they actually do the let's say the very operative work as well as the strategic stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so how do you educate your 8 employees?
Right.
It's the hardest thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you want them to be that versatile, which is hard to get.
It is. So I'm really passionate about that topic right now. I actually just wrote about it and did a whole meetup for iAcquire on training in your team. That's the problem we're struggling with right now is we're small, we've been small, but this is the year where we're staged to be able to grow quickly. And the question I had from a biz dev person that we're looking to hire, he basically said, how do you train? And if I were to bring you this amount of work, how do you train people to be that expert in everything? What I've found over the years is that you can hire people who have agency experience or the background in this, but there's usually a little bit of like deprogramming that's required because they have a certain method or philosophy. That's actually harder to train than if you just find someone that's creative, a critical thinker, a strategic thinker, and then train them yourself. So I've toyed a lot with different types of people. We've hired right out of college, we've hired seasoned professionals, and what I find works best is to just throw all these philosophies on hiring out the window and just trust your gut. Find someone that again is strategic, they're passionate about the industry itself, and they like to agency is tough as well because you have people that have to balance different types of projects and problems, so it has to be someone that thrives on solving a problem.
Right.
Once we have them in place, we try to, and we're overhauling our whole education process right now, but we try to set up team-based training where the first week, we'll send you some articles and things and try to get you to read things that we've written, but really it's all very conversation driven. We like to because there's only so much you can do to read or structure a program.
So when you say conversation driven, does it mean basically you take them along when you're on a job and they basically see you working and try to learn from that and then ask Rhea, why did you say that? Or Rhea, why did you do this kind of stuff?
We say, sit there on the client calls, sit on a prospective call, because we get so many leads that if you can sit there, like even if we're not going to sign with that client, you're going to be exposed to a unique situation. And in our industry, there's so many exceptions and so many strange problems.
Everything is a little different.
Exactly. So I want to have them have as much exposure as possible and then just come to me with questions. We do mentoring.
How long do you think it will take from when you hire somebody until they're like on your, like say mindset, when they've reached a certain level where you think they can work on their own on a client?
We throw them on their own on a client pretty quickly. We do it with, they're always, so as a team we have budget meetings, we have strategy meetings. Sean Stallman is our Director of Client Services. He's there the whole time. I'm there on the calls. So they're never like left on their own.
Okay. So they manage it, but there's always you in the background being able to help or even actually in the meetings as well.
Yeah, it takes about, I would say, 6 months before they feel strong enough to really manage the account, but even then we're still CC'd on everything. By about a year, usually they start to feel really good and they can handle it themselves, and at that point I'm going, take me off the emails, I don't care, you've got this.
Yeah, no CC please.
Yeah, and I mean it takes about a year to really build a strong trusting relationship with the client too.
That's true, but that's like slightly a kind of different thing. It's because you're saying that your guys are so versatile, so that's kind of hard because I tend to think that when you want to scale, which was kind of your question that you ask yourself, how to scale it, that you have to separate into more professionals and have departments.
Very
so
specific
I'm
skills,
really curious if we meet again in a year or two, if you may have changed your mind, whether there have to be silos to be able to grow, but that's
I don't
an
think
open
I will.
question.
I mean, like Outspoken's about 5 years old at this point, and I've thought a lot about it, and I've talked to a lot of people, and I am curious, but I don't think that we will because.
But if there's 30 of you or 50.
Yeah.
Or you think the growth won't be like in that dimension? Probably you will grow to 20.
I mean, 50 is a magical number, especially in the States, and I'm not sure abroad, but
I'm not aware of it. Please explain.
So 50 is a magical number because at 50 employees, you suddenly have so
50,
many...
50, right?
Yeah.
Not 50. Okay.
50. At 50, you have so many regulations and compliance required by the government that 50 is aggressive. We're 8 right now.
So you don't want to reach 50 because it gets regulated and it loses some fun.
Well, not that it's... Not that I want to avoid that, because what we're doing is we've actually built the company with those regulations in mind, knowing that we may get to that point. But right now, like I know that going from 8 to 20 is huge. That in and of itself presents a lot of problems. And now you start to get a lot more non-billable people and all these other things that you need. So I'm excited just to reach 20, hopefully in the next 1 to 2 years. And then at that point, we'll see if we can
I think in those dimensions, it's still okay to head for versatile people. That should work out, if I would say so.
I'm excited. That's my goal. I'm going to conquer it. My father, and I've said this, at conferences, he's a fireman, and he's actually the chief of training down in our area of Florida where I'm originally from. So, and my mom's a teacher. I'm passionate about education and training. So
teacher and preacher.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to make this happen. We're going to keep training people.
Okay. So I heard one of your sessions, and you were talking about reputation management for a wealthy individual, I think it was, and we actually also have sometimes inquiries from those kind of clients, potential clients, and we actually turn down I'd say 3/4 of them because our gut feeling says the stuff that they want to get rid of that's on the internet is there for a good reason, and we just say we can't help, or name a price that's way too high, and I hope they're never going to see this video.
Right.
Just so they say no.
We've done both. That's our response. Right. Tell me.
So how do you deal with that when you get an inquiry from somebody who you're not sure that you should help them clean what can be found about them?
Well, I tell them I'm like an attorney. I can't help you until you're honest with me.
Okay.
And so I've had folks outright lie, just blatant lies. I've had folks where I just go, there's no way that I would ever support this. I can't work with you. But it's the folks that are a little bit in the gray area that's always the concern is, maybe the problem isn't something that I completely disagree with, but I'm not sure how honest they're being, or if they've really fixed this thing within the organization that caused the problem initially, if it's a company or if it's an individual. Are they truly sorry? I don't know. Some people are really good talkers. And why do they have to be truly sorry? I should just be a business owner that takes their money and does the work, but I care about being ethical. And so, with my team, especially when talking about turnover in the company, I want to make sure that my team is happy. That way we don't lose them because I'm forcing them to work in an account that maybe they don't believe in. So we always have a company conversation.
That's the same thing that we take into account. For the same reasons. So are the most of the inquiries when it comes to reputation management, is it rather wealthy individuals, or is it more companies that have like an image problem because of whatever incident that happened?
I feel like the wealthy individual is rare. We have gotten that. We've gotten politicians, executives, and folks that come in and say, I need help, or someone in their camp told them they needed help. I've had VCs tell me, we need you to work with this individual executive before we go live with something. But what typically happens is it's an 18-year-old student that has a scholarship and they got arrested on some minor charge, or someone who was caught up in a small lawsuit from a business situation years ago. It's those types of things where someone has one thing that's been plaguing them and they don't have a budget whatsoever. Or it's the other side.
But when they don't have a budget, how can you help them?
That's where we've created the ORM guide on our website, and it's a little outdated at this point, but the guide is a really good place for us to go, here is some information and I want to help you, but I know you can afford this and I'm so sorry, but hopefully this will help. What we end up having to take on really are the enterprise level problems, larger companies, or highly regulated industries, or things like that. And
what is an example for highly regulated industries, like pharma, healthcare?
Yeah, healthcare.
So they have like
banking.
So they have like a problem with a certain product that probably has a bad image?
It can be a certain product. One case, there was a situation with some Medicaid, Medicare fraud, and it had been rampant within the organization, resulted in big problems and things, and we had to mitigate that against some news and stuff.
But they fixed that, and then afterwards they wanted to kind of make their mistake less findable.
Yeah, which was nice because I liked that particular organization. They were very proactive. I mean, they approached us years after the incident, after they had already gotten rid of the executive team, brought in compliance, a team to help everyone learn what not to do.
In such a case, it's great to be able to help.
Yeah, and in that case, it's like, you did exactly what they accused you of. You paid your dues, and now you're making sure that it never happens again.
Right.
And I want to work with those companies.
So when it comes to link building, how does that work here in the States? Because I assume it's a lot different than over in Europe.
So at Outspoken, we're all organic, and everything we do is long-term. I just spoke on it here at PubCon. We're looking at high quality, low risk. And I do like to think of link building in the sense of financial terms, that it's not white hat or black hat, it's high risk, low risk, conservative, aggressive. We're very conservative, we're very long term. We work with a lot of clients where maybe they are engaged with other vendors on more aggressive sides, but they want to bring us in as insurance for the more long term.
How does that work? I mean, you're both working on the same website.
Yep.
If you have, I don't know, let's say 3 different products and you guys are working on one, taking a conservative approach, and it's in one subdirectory, and the other guys who are like crazy aggressive, probably not saying it as much, they're working on the other product and other subdirectory, and then what?
Well, that's where we have to have a lot of open conversations and say, what are we working on?
Does it happen often that people have 2 agencies here?
All the time. Not
Serious?
just 2. You'll have 3 or 4 or more.
Working on the same domain on the same website?
There are a lot of companies that like to say, let me go try all of these folks and see what works and see what lasts.
Okay.
So we pride ourselves on trying to stick around and last longer.
Right.
But what is different about us from a lot of link vendors is typically they charge by the link or along those lines. We're retainer based. We see ourselves a little bit like a PR agency where we're going to work with X amount, and each month within that amount we're going to subtract the cost of development of maybe a content piece or design that comes out of the monthly budget, and then everything else is put into a blended rate from the company on an hourly side.
Right.
And we work hard to prioritize things that will have a high return, which could be social, but a lot of the time it might be content based or products that we coordinate a giveaway with or something, always within FTC guidelines and according to Google guidelines. But we try to think strategically. It's always a custom approach for every single client. It's important that when we're working with a lot of organizations that we pair up with their social team. We tend not to work with a smaller team where they'll ask us to do all the social media. I don't necessarily believe in that. I don't think that you should ever outsource your social. I feel like that's your brand. It needs to be internal, and it shouldn't go to an intern.
Right.
But we're happy to work with them, and there needs to be a coordinated effort between what we're doing and what social's
Right,
putting out.
because if you create a great story or a great piece of content, the social media team should push it as well.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many folks won't do that. They'll say, well, we're the SEO team, or we're this, and social media, they have their editorial calendar, and it's not going to fit into it.
Right. Well, it's just a click more than usually.
Yeah, you have to be able to promote.
But I want to ask into this other thing that you mentioned, which is very confusing to me, and we actually see that very, very seldomly over in Europe. We just have one client where that happened once, that they had wanted to try out several agencies. So how does that work? I mean, you have to have let's say a technical on-page strategy. And then you take the content from there and then try to acquire, social signals, links, whatever. So how does it work? How do you coordinate that?
Well,
I mean, you can't be like 4 agencies pitching, different, things that have to be changed on the product, on the website itself.
Yeah, typically you don't have ownership of Onsite at that point. Onsite will usually be within an internal SEO team, and we're talking really with like larger enterprise level clients. So there's someone in-house that's going to manage all of the Onsite.
So they don't even ask you, could we do better stuff on-site so the stuff that you do is more effective? They don't even ask you that? They just want you to do the...
Sometimes. So again...
But I'm asking into those cases that have this approach that is very... I would say...
They say, we're good, we know what our keywords are, we know what our content is, we can't even do anything with the CMS because it's so restrictive, so we only want you to look at the blog. On that blog, here's the editorial calendar. We're working with this vendor, they're going to post X number of times, you have X number of times to post, and we'll see which content does the best. So, it's interesting.
But on a blog, I can imagine how that could work out without being disturbing.
Sometimes it goes into articles, and then there is the link building aspect where you're still getting category pages or.
But if there is like an e-commerce website and they have the blog on the side, then probably they'll have you focus with the link building or let's say inbound marketing efforts on their regular shop, right? Not on the blog. That would be rather indirect. Or am I missing something?
That's where it's interesting. I think so. The people I'm thinking of are e-commerce, and so I think there's a trend where a lot of folks are recognizing that a lot of tactics that were used in the past to link to a category or product page are becoming very difficult, and so they are really going, well, let's just produce great content that drives the links in. Hopefully, strategically, we can get some links placed on the blog so it'll have a one-off effect of that link coming in. It won't be directly to a product or category page, but we can optimize the blog, which is getting all this power to push to that.
Right.
And so I think people are thinking a little more in kind of roundabout ways about it.
Right. But if you look at how customers in e-commerce, when they interact with like real customers, like end users that don't have anything to do with any internet marketing topics, when you see how they act, they mostly link to products.
Yep, which, product linking I have a problem with personally. I feel like, you can link to a product, but you have to assume that product's going to stick around for a while.
No, it definitely will expire. It always expires.
You have to go to a category page or an article section or resources.
Yeah, but if you look at real users, they always link to products, right? Because they say, I bought this polo at blah, blah, blah.
So what we like to do in that case, if we are able to achieve a backlink to a product through a relationship or something, is sometimes we'll go back to them and say, thank you so much for linking to this. That product is actually no longer available. If it's truly no longer, do you mind linking to the category over here instead, where people are going to be able to get similar or related products? And a lot of bloggers are really comfortable with that, and they'll go, yeah, sure, I'm on it, and they're just happy that the brand found them and reached out to them.
Right.
So that helps.
So when you reach out, are you talking to the people you reach out to as a brand? Do you have like your own email address within the brand?
Yes.
Or you're not getting in touch as outspoken media guys?
No. When you reach out to someone and say, oh, I'm an SEO, they're going to tell you where to go, and it's not somewhere nice. Yeah. So
is the image of SEOs in the US really, really bad, or is it these evil guys who manipulate all the search results for money and fun?
I think a lot of the population thinks that. I think that there is a small section that truly gets at SEO and the value and sees where it fits within marketing, and I think that percent of the population is growing, but it's taking a really long time. We're definitely up there with personal injury attorneys and used car salesmen.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're seen as very spammy, so it's a hard reputation we have to fix. But we always try to approach link building as the brand.
Right.
We have more success. Sometimes it's weird though. Some clients will be of a certain level when it comes to recognition, where if we reach out as the brand, people go, yeah, I'd love to work with you, but because you're so and so, where's the money? I'll let you do this piece, but you need to pay me for it. But we're not in the business of doing paid links, so at that point we have to really try to fix that.
Right. Okay. That's quite interesting. Thanks so much for the interview.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
OMReport and Andre Alpa would like to thank you for your attention. You can get more episodes on www.OMReport.com.